Hello and welcome to my review of the Death Riders for Death Korps of Krieg for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. Now the first way to have picked up these were in the Death Korps Krieg Army box set behind them, and that set would have cost you £145. You can now pre-order them. I think they release not this weekend coming, but the weekend after, if you're watching this in February of 2025. And they will cost you £40 and consist of 131 plastic components, so quite considerable. The most accurate comparison I can make in terms of price of them would be with the Blood Knights for Soulblight Gravelords for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. A pack of those costs £44, so £4 more, but only consists of 67 components. So about half. Games Workshop could have priced these at £44 and they would have sold. So I think £40 is pretty decent for the number of options that you get and just the number of parts. More on that later. Format of this review is as normal. I'll have a look at each of these Death Riders individually. We'll go through their spare parts, of which there are a few. Then I'll go through some size comparisons with other Death Korps Krieg units. I've built them all now, so I can compare them. And then at the end, I'll go through all of their rules. So first things first, I just want to talk about like their instructions and their options and things like that. The Sergeant is, I'd say, hidden in a way. He's the one at the back, right here. He's got the frag lance, I think these are called, with a bit of a flag, slightly bigger flag than the rest of them. Also, his kind of communications antenna thing on his backpack is a little bit taller. But apart from that, he's exactly the same as all the rest. There isn't any fancy horse armor for him, not even in DLC, and there's no special sort of uniform. It is just this bigger flag on the frag lance. I would have liked to have seen something, maybe some kind of fancy helmet or something on his horse. I don't know, maybe you can colour him slightly different, but yeah. He's got three options. You can build him with this frag lance and then his power sword, power saber to the left, and his las gun to the right. Or you can build him holding his sword, or you can build him holding his las gun. So yeah, already three options for the Sergeant. Pretty decent. And they go together really well. You build the halves of the horse and this tail bit. You add bits to the head. The reins work well for a steed. His body works well on the legs, and then the frag lances. I've equipped all of mine with frag lances. The other 5 I've gone for swords. It's just the way I've got done that. I do like the poses that the steeds are in. You get that sense of speed. I do like the gas masks sort of mirror their riders. So this one is sort of galloping along. I didn't put any kind of patches or pouches or any extra things on them at all. We'll go through the spare parts next, but yeah, I could have done, but I didn't. So that's another one. You've got this one charging. Again, all of these have the same options as the Sergeant, so you can have them all with the swords or all with like las guns, holding them, aiming them, you name it. The only thing you obviously can't change is the rider itself and the pose of the horse. But typically the weapons on the right arm you can change. So that's one charging. You've got this one that is a bit of an odd pose because it's kind of tipping a little bit, full speed, and the frag lance is just like to the side. I would have expected this pose if it was just trotting, with that frag lance out the way it is so much. I probably, if he was going at speed, you'd want the frag lance a bit closer to its body and things, but oh well. There's that one. Then we have this one. Again, this one is going full pelt, and this is what I would have expected with the frag lance, either raised like that or slightly lowered, but more central to the body. And then finally, probably my favourite one, this one, really cool, in that reverse grip, about to stab something, impale something on a bit of a angle as well. Very cool pose. One of my I think this is my favourite pose out of the whole set. You know, the Sergeant is good too, but this one is my favourite. Yeah, iconic, lovely, fantastic. And you know, that works as well with him holding the his like power sword thing. So yeah, nice poses, plenty of options. It's another home run for these Death Riders. They will pleasantly surprise you. They'll surpass your expectations, much like the artillery team did as well. So spare parts then. They're right here. Yeah, here are all the spare parts, and as I've been talking about them throughout the whole review, you've got 5 like power swords, power sabers, which are very cool. You know, there's nothing stopping you from using those on some other Death Corps, like on, I don't know, the Sergeant of the Engineer, if you can. You've got I've got a different sort of backpack thing. You've got all the las guns, so 1, 2, 3, should be 5, 4, 5. Yep, 5 las guns, and then you've got all the holsters as well. So I think it's a neat touch that they've also bundled in the las gunless holsters to put on the steeds. So if you do pick, you know, like if I get another 5, so I have 15, which is a possibility. You know, if they do an army set, like a, you know, 2 factions fighting against each other, and they include 5 Death Riders, then I will equip them with the las guns, and then I've got 15 that all look different. So it's nice that they included those. You've also got these as well that can go on the side of the steed, and you've got like pouches and longer pouches. These little kind of GoPro type lens things. It's a bit like one of those body cam. That's what this reminds me of. If my camera will focus on that. There we go. It's probably a bit better. Yeah. So yeah, there's those, and then these pouches, and that's about it for all the spare parts. So you do get a fair chunk of spare parts, not like the Blood Knights where you hardly get any, I don't think. Okay, so size comparisons. Here is one of the Death Corps Krieg infantry next to one of the Death Riders. It's to be expected. They are of course the same size, you know, off the steed, but gives you some idea. You know, if you've got a few of them milling about them, you got like 10, 20, 30 of them, and you've got these charging next. They're going to look so cool, aren't they, aesthetic wise. Compared to Lord Drea, right here, Lord Drea stands, you know, a fair bit taller than your standard Death Riders. A lot of presence. Could you have him proxy as a sergeant? Yeah, I don't see why not. You know, he's equipped with like a power saber. He's just on this really fancy scenic base. So if you wanted to get rid of this sergeant and just have him as a proxy, you know, leading them, that would work too. You know, then you can, you know, quickly identify him out of the rest. So that's where he stands. You know, he's going to be one of the tallest models in the kit. You know, not including this frag lance here. Yeah, I'm not sure about whether I would prefer him with a frag lance than the sword, but oh well. Combat engineers are going to be the same size as these infantrymen, but I will show you a comparison with the artillery team. Probably my favourite kit, favourite release out of all the Death Corps, with the Death Riders being a close second. But yeah, that's where that artillery team measures up. I'd love to get another one just because of like the, you know, options. You can take these cannons off and just replace them very quickly and easily. No magnets and things required. Yeah, amazing. Very, very cool. But gives you an idea. At the moment, this is the biggest sort of set that I've got for Death Corps. I'm just going to give you a comparison because it used to have 40k rules, very good 40k rules, and now it doesn't. But if they do bring rules back, I mean, it's still going to be part of my Astra Militarum, Death Corps, Krieg, Solar Auxiliary kind of, you know, Imperial Guard sort of force is the Malcador Infernus, and I built it very recently, so I thought I'd show it off here to give you an idea of the size. So these Death Riders are kind of up to the top of the tank, but the whole aesthetics looks very, very cool, doesn't it, with them. And then if I just show you it compared to a Lehman Russ. So Lehman Russ there, that works very well too. Sort of World War One, World War Two though, isn't it? In a way, he says, with like a big las cannon there and a missile. But yeah, you get where I'm coming from with these. They do complement each other quite well. Okay, and the final size comparison I always like to make is just with some other 40k minis. So I do have a Space Marine there, we've got a Primaris, and we've got Sly Marbo. So a normal standard Space Marine is what, a little bit smaller, not even up to the saddle. Sly Marbo is similar size to Death Corps, and then you've got a Primaris who is easily up to the saddle there. That works sort of size wise. I think that's a good comparison, those two. Okay, this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Death Corps of Krieg Death Riders. You'll find them in your brand new Astra Militarum Codex, and they're right next to the Attilan Rough Riders. Their points cost is 60 points for 5 models or 120 points for 10 models. You can't have any more than 10. You know, you either have your 4 and a sergeant, or you have your 9 and a sergeant. So you can't have like 15 in a unit or 20, or although that would look pretty cool. So the unit composition is you have 1 Ride Master, I think I called him a sergeant, and between 4 and 9 Death Riders. Their stat line reads as follows: movement of 10 inches, toughness of 4, save of 4+, 2 wounds, leadership 7+, and an objective control 1. How do they compare to the Attilan Rough Riders, for example? Well, they have exactly the same stat line, except that the Attilan Rough Riders are a bit quicker. They're 12-inch movement instead of 10. Every model is equipped with a Death Rider Las Carbine, Frag Lance, Power Saber, Steed's Savage Claws. So their ranged weapons, I've only got one ranged weapon, which is the Death Rider Las Carbine, and it's an assault weapon. Its range is 18 inches, it's 2 shots, it's 2 attacks, ballistic skill 4+, strength 3, AP 0, and damage 1. How does that compare to the Attilan Rough Riders Las Gun? Well, the Las Gun, as you know, is a rapid fire 24-inch range weapon. So that means, you know, the Death Riders, it's an assault weapon, so they can always fire that, and they're getting 2 shots. It's just shorter range. So the effective range of the Attilan Rough Riders would be 36 inches, and the effective range for the Death Riders would be 28 inches. So it's a whole 8 inches difference. So that might affect you, and it's a tricky one because the Attilan Rough, I know I'm comparing a lot with Rough Riders here, but the Rough Riders have these hunting lances which have frag tips or melter tips, so they have different tips. And the frag tip works exactly the same as the frag lance for the Death Riders. So they're pretty much equipped with the same thing, which is, it's a lance weapon, attacks of D6, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. Whereas the Rough Riders have an optional melter tip lance, which you only get 1 attack, but it bumps the strength up to 9, AP -4, and damage D6. So, you know, those melter tips, if they're going to use them, can be quite devastating. Rough Riders also have the same power sabers as the Death Riders, but for some reason the Rough Riders have 4 attacks instead of the 3. But the weapon skill is still 3+, strength 4, AP -2, damage 1. And then instead of the Steed's Hooves for the Rough Riders, you've got the Steed's Savage Claws, which are extra attacks, and you get 2 attacks, weapon skill 4+, strength 4, AP -1, and damage 1. So that's a 1-up for the Death Riders. Their AP is -1 for the Savage Claws. Now, abilities, they have this thing called Screening Line. Once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal, advance or fallback move within 9 inches of this unit, if this unit is not within engagement range or one or more enemy units, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. It's pretty nice. Keywords: mounted, grenades, Imperium, regiment, Death Riders. So there you go. That is the Death Riders for Death Korps of Krieg. The Attilan Rough Riders are better, but the Death Riders have that extra movement. You know, the Rough Riders are faster, their hunting lances are better, their power saber is even better. I would say that the las carbines for the Death Riders are better, even though they're shorter range. What I would do is, to make them incredible, is I would put Lord Marshal Dreer with them, because his ability, called Lead in the Charge, means that each time that unit makes a charge move, your melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the devastating wounds ability. But of course, you know, there's no reason why you couldn't put him with the Attilan Rough Riders either, to give them the devastating wounds. So all in all, a solid set of minis. They look fantastic. There are options, you know, 3 options each. The price is decent too, and the rules are good, but not quite as good as the Rough Riders. If you're going for that, like, World War I trenches aesthetic and things, then these are going to be right up your street. You know, if you're going for like a raw cavalry, artillery guns, heavy weapons teams, and infantry with like trench clubs and things like that, then yeah, these are really going to tickle your fancy. But what do you guys think of the Death Riders? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.